So we can just open it up. I'll go first and introduce myself. I'm Cameron Hines. I'm a junior. I transferred here from another college, and so I feel like I have a good perspective of how St. John's is unique in terms of academics and also in the brilliant student life opportunities that we have. Some of the ways that I'm involved on campus are submitting things to the visual arts shows that we have in the gallery above the dining hall. That we have shows of, student, staff, and faculty work, being in some of the plays put on by our student theater group and going to those always. I've been on some mind-blowing trips with the outdoor program and just around the beautiful area in Santa Fe. I have a little group that performs at Collegium, which is every semester we have this kind of musical review. And then I have friends who run the fitness programs at the Student Activity Center, who are part of the swim club, the climbing club, part of Polity, the student government. So really just there are endless possibilities. And now we're going to hear from the people who make those possibilities possible. So if everyone could introduce themselves, say what your role is in student life, and then what's your favorite thing about St. John's students? And maybe Ken, if you want to start.
Sure. So my name is Ken Bauman. I have two titles here. The first is Presidential Fellow for Academic Support, and the second is Writing Coordinator. So in the first capacity, I help students with essentially whatever they need. I try to connect them to available resources that already exist here at St. John's. I provide primarily academic support, help them with in-class issues, presenting Euclid propositions at the board, feeling more confident speaking in seminar, etc., time management, scheduling. But I also try to be a Swiss Army knife for students and really just help them out, get to know them as a whole person and advocate for them as a whole person. And then in the second capacity as writing coordinator, I edit a tremendous amount of students' written work, their essays here at St. John's. I manage and train our student writing assistants, and I work closely with faculty, our tutors, and staff to try to improve and offer even more writing support for students at the college. And my favorite thing about St. John's students is their ability to listen. I think that at St. John's, we really train each other to be very, very attentive to one another and to really hear what somebody else is saying. And I think that's an incredibly rare skill today and very important.
Great, thank you. And then Mr. Gulliver, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, yes. I'm Michael Gulliver. I am the Assistant Dean. I've been on the faculty for 20 years and have taught throughout the entire program. The Assistant Dean is a rotating position. We like, as with the Dean, we like to have someone who's been in the classroom who can take this position and offer lots of support. So I work closely with Dean Sterling. I'm sort of known as the face of the Dean's office. I'm the first person you might come to, not simply for academic support, but for all kinds of support. I supervise most of our academic assistants. We have 3 Greek assistants, we have a French assistant, and we have math assistants at all levels, and they are paid to help our students get through what can be at times a very difficult program. It's a very demanding program, but we're all here to support one another, and we have people who are paid who are really good at what they do to help students out who are struggling at times. I also enforce the attendance policy and the algebra requirement. And I supervise our workers in the art gallery and the director of the small chorus. And what do I love about students the most? I think it's the passion they have for learning, for genuine learning. We tend to all love one another because we're all involved in the same important project with one another. Thanks.
Thank you. And then Sarah, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Sarah Reeve. I'm the housing coordinator here at St. John's. So that means I do everything from assigning first-year housing to working through the housing lottery process with returning students. I also have the honor of overseeing the RAs here on campus, and kind of do everything under the sun for residential life. In addition to that, I'm also a senior resident. So that means I live here on campus 24/7. And kind of have some on-call responsibilities. So sometimes if a student needs help in the middle of the night, I'm one of the people that they can rely on for support then. Oh, favorite thing about St. John's students. Sorry, my bad. I would say their versatility. Really, you can put a Johnny in any room with any topic of conversation happening, and they can really hold their own. And I just find that fascinating and really inspiring to watch.
Thank you. And then Ms. Guevara, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Christine Guevara. I'm the Executive Director of Campus Health and Wellness. And what that really is a very, very broad umbrella that includes the majority of support outside of the classroom. And so the fitness center, outdoor program, our health center, therapists, public safety, food service, student life, which includes both student activities as well as residential life, Title IX, ADA, all of that kind of falls underneath that umbrella. I have been with the school for about 1.5 years, almost going on 2 years now. It's been an incredible experience working with the students. And I do have to say that the one thing I am most impressed about is their passion, but maybe in a different way than what Mr. Gulliver described. I am amazed at how passionate they are to do everything beyond the classroom, and their excitement to engage in activities and kind of take on leadership roles to make sure that their community is a healthy community. It's been really fascinating to see that happen.
Thank you. And Marianne, if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, welcome. My name is Marianne Burke, and I'm the Fitness and Wellness Coordinator and also manage our Student Activity Center, which is our fitness center here on campus. And so I organize classes. I am a personal trainer and a fitness instructor, so I also help students individually and also lead classes as well. I help with some of the clubs that are more fitness oriented. And then I also help our students with our intramural program. And I oversee the pottery studio and wood shop, which is pretty fun. Yeah, so my job is to get the students kind of out of their books and into their bodies. And it's a very, very fun job. I love it. And my favorite, or the thing that sparks me the most, which is kind of an underlying theme of what everybody has said about us St. John's College students, is they have a very curious mind. And in today's society where everything comes at you and you don't have to search very deep, I feel like the curiosity is kind of being suppressed, but you do not see that at St. John's. They're a very curious group of students.
Thank you. And then Derek, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yep, my name is Derek Bryan. I'm the Outdoor Program Coordinator at St. John's in Santa Fe. My aim is to be able to get you off campus. A lot of folks come to the Santa Fe campus to be able to get out and to be able to enjoy the beautiful Southwest. My aim is to be able to, I guess the outdoor program's aim is kind of threefold. We offer trips weekly, almost every single week, to be able to promote folks to be able to get off campus, explore the Santa Fe community, and certainly the outdoor community surrounding our area. We have clinics, how-tos as well throughout the semesters, to be able to empower our students, to be able to get them somewhat of the concept of edutainment, kind of a continuing education concept. Our pose is to understand as well that there's more to our education than just school. We can learn by experience as well. So, and then third, we have a bunch of rental gear that we offer to the students if they want to be able to do their own jam and get out on their own, learning from our clinics, of course, trying to be able to utilize that equipment to be able to get out and enjoy their time at St. John's, both academically and socially. Thing that impressed me the most about Gianni's is their ability to be teachable, to have that attitude of that the cup is not full, and to be able to have an attitude towards wanting to be able to learn, having that concept of learning lives forever.
Thank you. And Malcolm?
Hi, I'm Malcolm Morgan. I am the Student Activities Coordinator at St. John's College in Santa Fe. I am also a senior resident here on campus, so I live on campus like Sarah does, and I am a senior resident for support for the lowers community, as well as the RAs that are there. Another, I guess you can say, hat that I wear is that I'm queer student support here on campus. And so I help out with that, and then I get our students connected with some good resources in our community. The main thing that I do is student activities, helping clubs plan the events that they're wanting to do, activities here on campus for my student activities team, and just making sure that we have the books and that balance between the social life, fun life, as well as the curriculum. The one thing that I would like to say that I really love about St. John's College students is their passion. And that passion goes across the board. It just extends into very many places. And that goes from the curriculum to activities, to the clubs that they're a part of, to just their passion for each other and caring for each other as well on this campus.
Thank you. And then Caesar?
Hello, I'm Cesar Cervantes. I am the Director of Student Life, which means I oversee student activities and residential life and housing. We will have a new position joining us this summer, which is our student support coordinator, and will support underrepresented students on campus. We're all very excited about that. And I also oversee our community standards, which live in our student handbook, and some parts of student health and wellness as well. I love Johnny's, and I think what I love the most is there's a real sense of personal responsibility and self-governance and just ownership. And so I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And I've noticed we already have some fantastic questions in the Q&A. So we're going to just go over a few of the basics of student life, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers in real time at the end. And so first I'd like to ask Sarah, what's an RA? What's a senior resident? And what are the housing options like that we have in Santa Fe?
Yeah, sure. So RAs are resident advisors. And so here on our campus, we have 21 of them. And so for all of the traditional halls, it's a maximum of 18 students has one RA for that building. And then we also have RAs in our suites and apartments as well. So suites are 5 students living in a communal space together, and apartments are 2-bedroom apartments where 2 students live throughout the academic year. But RAs are really there to kind of provide additional peer support. So whether that is an emergency, whether that is simply kind of bridging some social gaps or introducing people to some clubs or activities that they might be really interested in. RAs are a very versatile tool that Student Life has the privilege of having in our tool belt in terms of connecting with students and making sure that students really feel supported and feel welcome here on campus. I think another question was, what are senior residents? So senior residents are full-time staff or faculty that live on campus. And so I am currently in my house here on campus. And we have an on-call system. So if things happen after hours, we still have a representative of Student Life who is able to kind of help out with whatever's going on. But we also are just here on campus as a presence and as a way of kind of building relationships with students because they are quite literally my neighbors. And then another thing that I'll kind of touch on in terms of the way that housing works here. So we have a number of traditional halls, like I mentioned, and those can vary from being quiet to sub-3 to single gender to gender neutral to non-traditional student housing. I think that we have separate graduate student housing as well. I think that kind of covered most of it. And so just to give you a little bit of a better idea, that's generally students will live in a single room. There are a couple of doubles here on campus, but there really aren't that many. And then they'll have access to a communal kitchen, either right next door or within their building, and kind of communal bathrooms, that type of thing. Am I skipping anything? Did anyone notice any gaps?
No, that sounds great. Yeah, and then if anyone has any more questions about just housing, feel free to put those in the Q&A, and if we don't get to them today, Sarah can answer them whenever else. And then next question I have for Ken. I'm coming to St. John's, I'm an admitted student, say, and I've never written a 10-page paper like we have to write for seminar, so how do I go to that? Who do I go to for help, and how do I figure that out?
Yeah, so it's a good question. To give a sense of sort of the amount of academic support that's available for students here, we have 13 academic assistants, we have 8 writing assistants, and that does not include our lab assistants and our music assistants. And, you know, again, our campus typically has fewer than 400 students. So proportionally, we have quite a few students who are paid and trained to help their peers. Writing essays at St. John's is very important. The essays written here are a little bit different than essays written in other academic institutions. They generally focus directly on the text and your thoughts about the text. They're not research papers. So writing them can be pretty powerful and transformative work. There are, again, 8 writing assistants who are available. They each are paid to work 10 hours a week and often work a lot more than that. I am available as well, and there's a tutor who's given a position each year called the Writing Archon, and he oversees with me the writing assistants, trains them, as well as edits a ton of student essays. So there is a lot of support available, and writing at St. John's is quite important. But just know that, yeah, if you wind up attending here, it's a pretty fantastic process, pretty intimate, and you'll have as much help as you can stomach, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then if Mr. Gulliver, if you could speak a little bit to kind of the rigor of the program and the hours that we put in, if that makes sense. Sorry, I think you're still muted.
I can only really speak about my experience as a tutor over the past 20 years. I spent hours each day, probably about 3 hours each day, doing work for the classes of that day in the evening. Usually you would see me holding my smallest boy, Joey, when he was a baby, reading Hegel at the same time. It was quite a bit to juggle, but yes, it is a very rigorous program, and to be honest, it's not for everyone, but we do want to make sure that you're not simply working and reading all the time on this material. We want to make sure that you're getting outside and getting involved with the SAC. I go to the SAC, well, I participate in SAC activities, I think 5 days a week. It's a really important way to make sure that you're healthy enough in body and mind to deal with the rigor of the program.
Absolutely. And then if you could also say, outside of the actual academic program, what's a study group and how do I get started with one?
Okay, so study groups happen all the time. I'm presently the organizer of one that is still going on online, and Ms. Hines is involved in that one, and I'll be seeing her Monday online. We're doing Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex. It's been a very successful group that started at the very beginning of the fall and is continuing this spring. Any student at any time can start a study group. Tutors will get involved in study groups and start their own. If there's ever a book that we don't do in the program that you want to study seriously, there are many people eager to study it along with you. So it's very easy to do. And I can arrange the room and the time and everything, all the details for you.
Thank you. So that's kind of the richness of the academic life and the mind. And then if Marianne, you could say a little bit about the body. Yeah, what opportunities do you offer and what are you doing now online?
Sure, absolutely. So we offer a beautiful gym, and I can attest to that. I've been a member of a handful of gyms in Santa Fe, and I do feel that ours is the most loveliest gym in Santa Fe. And we're also right in the foothills of the mountains, so right outside your door are a lot of trails. So there's a lot of indoor, outdoor activities. We have a shower service, or showers, towel service, walkers, and we're open to the staff, faculty, students, and alumni. So it really is your own personal private gym, which really spoils a lot of us. The classes that we offer during a regular normal time in this world range anywhere from archery, which is both a club and a team. We do compete against other colleges in archery, and we compete regionally and within the state. We currently have a sophomore who's ranked 5th in the nation. That's pretty exciting. And then we have intramural sports that are traditional soccer, volleyball, and then we'll do things like dodgeball or foursquare, things like that. And we have 4 different teams here. We have a lot of fitness classes that range from weightlifting, kettlebells. We do some Johnny Core class, a Johnny Tone class. So a Johnny Strong class, so we have lots of opportunities. And then yoga is very, very popular here on our campus. Karate is another really popular class on our campus. So there's a large gamut. There is something for everyone. And if you're not seeing that, or you have a passion in an area that you think not only you would be interested in, we'll help you with that and getting a class organized. We will mentor students if they're interested in becoming a certified instructor. And we often are able to turn that into a work study job, which is pretty cool. So we do have some students doing that currently. We do have a senior who's leading the over 9,000 class, which was the one that Michael Gulliver participates still virtually. So virtually, we were able to flip a lot of classes, and we call it fitness distancing instead of social distancing. And so we're all staying together and we're staying fit. We are still offering the yoga. We are still offering weightlifting classes with either what you have at home or body weights. We still have our famous Iron Bookworm class led by a tutor. We still have a kettlebell class where you can make your own kettlebell with a garbage bag and sand and some duct tape. And we call it Sand Babies. So there's a lot going on, and it was a real silver lining to be able to, within a matter of a week or 10 days from unfortunately having to close our campus, to flipping it over and allowing our students to still continue with their regular fitness programming, especially at a time when we're feeling isolated and kind of stuck at home. We're offering a lot, and I'm really proud of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just heard someone in the alumni panel said something about how at St. John's so many people find this athletic kind of breakthrough. And it's because, I don't know, you make everything so accessible to everyone at all levels. And then another thing that's made accessible like that is with the outdoor program, the freshman wilderness orientation, which I'll ask you to speak to, Derek, but you don't need experience to go on that trip. There's so many, if you could tell us about the great opportunities and trips that we can go on when we're.
Sure. I'll start with the Freshman Wilderness Orientation Program. Its design is to kind of be a big old fat cheat code. Prior to the formal orientation week, freshmen have an opportunity to be able to go out with upperclassmen who have, believe it or not, been in your exact same shoes. First time away from home, first time away from parents or guardians, first time for cooking on your own, first time for a lot of things, right? Or transitioning from a different school or whatnot. The program is pretty empowering in that we have a lot of these upperclassmen who have been trained to be able to not just live, but also thrive in an outdoor environment. To be able to be there alongside with you, to be able to offer some empathy, not just within the present experience of being able to backpack in the beautiful Pecos wilderness, but also have empathy of what you're going through and being able to give potential solutions and resources to those concerns. So that's typically, it's held in beginning of August. It's a 5-day trip, and it's a great way to be able to kickstart your time here at St. John's. Additionally, I mentioned it before, we do have almost every single week during the semester, every weekend, we do have a trip, and that can be hiking or skiing or rock climbing, biking, pretty much anything you can do outdoors to be able to get you off campus and be able to get you out in the sticks. There's a few questions that were answered in the question and answer if you have questions regarding the climbing or how to be able to get off campus via public transportation. I also mentioned in there we do have a bike rental program that can be able to assist you to get off campus if you're not into buses, or I'd highly actually recommend getting around on Santa Fe on a bike. It's a great way to be able to explore the nooks and crannies of a pretty unique downtown.
Absolutely. Yeah. And being able to walk into town, but it's so bikeable. I miss it. And then if Christine, you could speak to a little bit of kind of the health resources that we have and the mental health resources that we have on campus.
Absolutely. So we have both a health center and a center for our therapists. In the health center, we have a nurse practitioner that's available typically 4 days a week. and provides those basic services for our students at no additional cost. So that's a real benefit for the students. It's convenient. They can just head down the road to get to the health center and actually establish a really nice relationship with our nurse practitioner. And then we also have 3 full-time therapists that work with us, as well as a psychiatrist who works with our students contractually. Again, there are no additional costs for those services. There is not a limit in sessions, so students can have some pretty regular sessions with them. And, you know, we're really grateful that we have them on site to be able to provide those services to the students.
Oh, sorry. I know other people have said this to me, but even when we're away from campus, the mental health services are really plentiful and especially proportional to how many students there are. I'm really grateful for that. And Malcolm, if you could say something a little bit about some examples of fun campus events, and then also what are clubs and how do I start a club?
So let's start off with the clubs, because I feel like that's where a lot of the energy comes for this campus. There's so many clubs. There's some that are even hidden that I'm still, discovering almost a year into the job. And basically the students just have a bunch of different interests and passions and loves that they have. And we basically see if they would like to turn that into a club, if they want to have a group that supports them and meets often and does activities centered around that club's initiatives. And so it's a very simple process of coming and fill out a form with me, me helping you walk through all of that. We're working on the future of connecting each of the clubs with the mentor so that we can open up more opportunities for them. And then you get chartered with Polity as well. So then you have 2 different areas where you can get some funding to make sure that your events that you're wanting to do on campus are successful. And one of the ones that I really, really enjoyed this semester that happened before spring break was that our consulting club hosted a networking gala, which was a phenomenal gala that brought in a bunch of different business owners from the town. They got to meet with the students. I believe there were some alumni there as well. And so they made some professional connections. Now that's a little bit more on the job side, but that is something that is very important still. So we've got that side of it. And then we've got the students who love painting and the students who like to go either swimming, or they like to go skiing, or they like to just look at new books and have time to read about it. So all those different passions, they come to our office. Sometimes they land in Marianne's plate or vice versa. And we just make sure that we steer students towards the right resources and make sure that they are successful. When it comes to some of our events that we've done this year that are some good highlights, I definitely love to highlight our 3 to 4 day long zombie apocalypse, which is a full campus event that leads up into our Halloween bash, our Halloween maze, live band, music, food. We've done a murder mystery swing dance with the 505 Swing Club here in town, and we combined them with our Waltz Club here on campus. Another big event that the students really loved here is at the very top of the school year, the sophomores host an event for the freshmen, and it's a blast with a lot of games, a lot of hanging out, a lot of music and dancing on one of our big Placida areas. So we've got a lot here. So you got to find that balance. You can't do everything, but try to do as much as you can and make sure you stay on top of your books.
I remember, Malcolm, one time last semester you said to me something of like, there's so many opportunities and it's so much to balance at St. John's, but that's practice for your life. So getting to have that balance between fun and work is really great to have that, to be able to practice doing that. Yeah, totally. I have one kind of wild question for you, Derek, and then we're going to open it up to all of these great questions in the Q&A, but is it true that you wrestled a mountain lion with your bare hands?
Yes. But it was a misunderstanding, and we're now friends. So it's
wonderful. Good to hear. And then there's so many great questions, some that have already been answered. So if everyone wants to check that out in the Q&A, but this one, maybe Caesar or Christine, you could speak to this, of what security measures does St. John's have in place to keep students safe?
Sure, I'll talk to public safety, and then Caesar may be able to add a few more comments regarding senior residents. But we do have a 24/7 public safety crew on campus. There are multiple guards on shift throughout the day and into the night hours. We also have access to what's called our switchboard, which is 24/7 accessible. Students can call into the switchboard and get any sort of assistance that they might need at any hour of the day.
Yeah, and as we mentioned briefly earlier, our senior residents are also part of the community, and essentially their staff and faculty who live and work on campus. And the goal is to build community. And so essentially they're out and about in the community and touching base, building relationships, letting us know if there's any maintenance issues, if there's any behavioral concerns, so that we're able to follow up on that and make sure that everyone is safe and also developing as Johnny's.
Totally. Thank you. And then we have an avid cook in the Q&A, and I'm wondering, Sarah, if you could speak to kitchen places that we have on campus, and then also Christine, if you want to, either one of you, if you could talk about dining and people with dining restrictions.
So a lot of that is going to depend on where you live here on campus. So if you're in one of the traditional residence halls, generally you would have to walk just outside to get to the Commons kitchen, but those are really nice kitchens. They were just renovated, so 10 out of 10 would recommend. I can see mine from outside the window here. So those are really wonderful, and those are accessible to all students at any time of day. There's no requirement in terms of like reserving that space or anything like that if you need to use it to cook yourself dinner for an evening or something along those lines. And then in a couple of the halls, for example, the Winiarski neighborhood, which is where I live, those students have a kitchenette within their residential space. So I recommend, if you have any questions about it or if you have any concerns, make sure when the time comes, I don't believe that these are live yet, but when you're filling out some housing forms on your portal, make sure you include that you want to be kind of near a kitchen, and I'll see what I can do on that front. The other thing I'll mention is that it's generally not open to first-year students just because they're popular spots here on campus. So our returning students tend to snag those, but up in the suites and the apartments, those are also, those suites each have individual kitchens, and the apartments do as well. I'm gonna let Christine talk about the dining services here on campus.
Yeah, so we have a contractual relationship with Sage Dining. I would encourage everybody to do a little research on that particular company. We're very excited about the relationship with Sage. They just joined, I guess it was last summer, they joined the campus community, and they have gone out of their way to establish relationships with not only faculty and staff on campus, but the students, and probably most importantly, the students. And so they are getting to know the students by name. They want to have conversations with students about the types of meals that they're enjoying, that they're not enjoying. Any student who has some dietary restrictions can come and speak to me directly. We can take a couple of different paths toward a solution there. We could talk about some accommodations that might need to be in place for a particular situation, but what I love to encourage students to do is to actually have a conversation with the food service manager, because 9 times out of 10, they're able to sit down with the student and help them navigate the food sources, the food options in the dining hall, and it completely meets the students' needs. So that's fantastic. We do have both a dining hall and a coffee shop on campus. The dining hall serves 3 meals a day. Most days of the week, Monday through Friday. I think Saturday and Sunday there's a brunch and dinner, and Cammie can correct me if I'm wrong there. And then the coffee shop has I think a nice selection of hours as well. So that coffee shop remains open until 11:30 at night most days of the week, and so students have an opportunity to get some additional food, coffee, hang out. It's a nice space for students to enjoy.
Thank you. And then just some quick questions. We won't have time to get to all of these because there are a lot of great questions. So if you have any afterwards, feel free to contact any of the people on the panel or your admissions counselors. But 2 really fast ones that have come up about a swim club. What that looks like right now this year has been twice a week. It's a car full of people going to the recreation center in town. So that's definitely something you can be involved with, or even have a leadership role in that. And then we kind of spoke to this, but about having cars on campus. You can always have a car on campus, but like we said before, it's not really necessary because Santa Fe is so bikeable, busable. You can walk there pretty easily. It's a great walk. And there's also Uber and all of that. So those are those 2 questions. Let's see. Fencing programs. We don't have a fencing program right now in Santa Fe, but that's huge in Annapolis. And then also if you come, that's something you could start through Polity and with Malcolm's help and Marianne's help to get that started. And then let's see. Does anyone see some questions they'd like to answer in the Q&A that are really jumping out to them?
Can I just follow up on the fencing? We do have an informal fencing group led by our tutor, Krishnan Venkatesh. So we have lots of fencing equipment and it's based on student interest. So there's always that potential. We've had it in the past and it's all dependent on student interest. So I have all the equipment.
I just love that about St. John's, of like how it's led by the students, and kind of whatever you want to make happen, you can have that happen.
Yeah. I also just wanted to speak to some of the students about transportation. It seems to be one that's popping up quite a bit. And that is, yes, you can have a car on campus. You just have to make sure it's registered through public safety. But if you do not have a vehicle, once again, there's bike opportunities. You can rent a bike from the SAC. I think they have a program where you can borrow one for a semester or something like that. Derek and his team are really good at helping you know how to maintain those bikes and things like that. We also have a bus stop right in front of campus, so it's very easy for you to get access to transportation off campus, and we highly encourage for you to just get off sometimes, de-stress, go see the beautiful town around you, because after 4 years here, you want to be able to tell people what you got to experience in Santa Fe, because it is a tourist destination for so many people. So they're going to ask you about Canyon Road and all the art, so make sure you know it. We also have the Santa Fe pickup, which picks up at that bus stop as well. It is a free shuttle, but it only goes to downtown and back to our area. And I think it runs every 30 to 45 minutes as well during, I think, like 8 to 5, 9 to 6, something like that.
And just a little economic thing. The bus passes are available for students at cost at our bookstore, and it's $17 a month for unlimited rides. So it's super affordable.
And then Ken, I think the thing that I forgot to also, well, I know I forgot to say, was we also have a train station here in town. So you can also just catch a train all the way up to Albuquerque. You can go through the Pueblos on this train. And I think it's like maybe $3 to $4 if you have a student ID round trip. And it's one of the most beautiful train rides you'll ever take. I like to take it during winter.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And then Malcolm, you mentioned Canyon Road, but there are a lot of questions coming up about extracurricular art programs, and I don't know, just to reiterate that, Santa Fe is one of the, I think it's the 3rd largest art market in America. There's so many great resources in town to have that be part of your experience. And then also on campus, I know there's been mentioned the on-campus gallery where we have shows. It's right above the dining hall. So that's been really fun, and that's kind of come to the forefront. We also have for study groups like a visual arts study group where we might discuss a piece of art. And you can put one of those on whenever you want, and then also go to those when they're happening. And then there is in the Fine Arts Building, which is where a lot of the music classes happen, kind of studio space with the resources you'd need to do that, in addition to the pottery. So that is a pretty big part of the experience and something you can always access. One more thing, I don't know if this would be spoken to in another panel, but I went to the school, the Marchute School of Fine Arts, and people do that a lot through Global Pathways. So Global Pathways is kind of our study abroad program that happens only during the summer, but really you can kind of do anything that you want there. A lot of times people will go to this Marchute School of Fine Art, which you get to have seminars about pieces of art, and then also go and in Aix-en-Provence paint in the same places where Cézanne painted. So there's a lot of interconnectedness between those two programs. And then also the Rome Institute of Liberal Arts is another thing that people end up doing. And you get to go to Rome, which right now, there's a lot of thought going on there, and sadness, but you get to go and to this place where all of these great thinkers were working, and have that be a part of your experience. But I'm rambling about that. Let's see, this one would be a cool one to answer, Derek, about rock climbing in the area, if you want to talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, if you go to the question and answer area, there was a question about what areas are in the area. There is quite a bit of areas that the outdoor program frequents. There's an area called El Rito, which is a more conglomerate type rock. We go up to White Rock, which is more of like a white, weird basalt, granitic type rock. There's a lot of other areas that we frequent that are great for both sport and traditional climbing. There's also some great bouldering just southeast of us called Roy. I don't know if you're a climber, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of been a super secret area for the last 5 to 10 years, and now it's really exploding. So really great climbing opportunities out there that we certainly frequent. We do, as I mentioned before, we have gear that be able to get you out. Unfortunately, there is certain gear that we do not rent out, but the gear that we do rent out is crash pads, climbing shoes to be able to get you started at least with the bouldering area. There's a local gym as well, about 15-20 minutes from campus. Come on by and rent a bike for no cost. Ride on down there, get your climb on, and yeah, so there's lots of climbing resources.
Great, thank you. And then a few more that are coming up just pretty quickly. Marianne, are there any running teams or clubs?
So we have, can you guys hear me? Yeah, so we have a lot of runners on campus. And we have had running clubs in the past. Those are really student driven. And, but I do find that a lot of runners just like to be, they're trying to get away and just have some quiet time. The trails are right outside our front doors. I'm a runner myself, and so I do know a lot of the trails. I can join you or guide you on trails, as well as Derek can do that for you as well. We currently have a virtual race against our sister campus. So, and I'm not gonna lie, Santa Fe's in the lead a bit. Yeah, there's a lot of running here. So if it's something where you want to get a group together, that's certainly possible, and I can facilitate that and be a part of your group. I'd be happy to do that. We also have a kind of a quarter-mile track right on the field next to ours. You don't need to go very far, and our high school down the street uses it, and we're able to access it at any time.
Yeah, I know just recently we had a trail running club, and they would actually meet at the outdoor program as kind of like their meeting center. And there's a couple other clubs that utilize our garage area for their meetups, for their clubs. And that's certainly another resource we provide. But yeah, literally, just as Marianne was saying, we literally have a trailhead on our campus, the Adelaide Trailhead. 2 minutes up the road, there's the Dorothy Stewart Trails. Like, we are in the foothills of Santa Fe, and it's a great resource to have.
Yeah, kind of to feed off of that a little bit. A lot of places will say like, oh, we have nature right in our backyard. But we literally have nature right in our backyard. If I go out into my backyard, I have to walk like maybe 10 feet and then I'm on a trail. So that kind of resource is great. I'm gonna switch topics here real fast because someone asked a little bit about the types of halls we have here on campus. So sorry for stealing that. But I would say we do have substance-free and quiet halls. So if that is something that you are concerned about, just let us know. And we'll do our best to make sure that we can fit you into a community that you're gonna feel safe and welcome in. Cami, you're muted.
There we go. Let's see. And if anyone sees any questions in the Q&A that they want to jump on, I like this one that said, how long would it take you to adjust from sea level? I think that's about a week, right? I guess, to really get into it fully, to expand your lungs.
I would say it's a week, but then I also know that it may have been a fitness thing, but more like a couple months sometimes, depending on how adventurous you're getting and if you're actually going up into the mountains too.
And Sarah and I did a 10-foot hike yesterday apart from each other, but she made me go up a mountain that I fell down later. And so I'm okay, but it's beautiful. Like, we didn't want to stop. And she's like, we're almost to the top. We're almost to the top. And you get there and then you can see all of Santa Fe, and the sun is starting to set, and it's just one of the most beautiful views, and it takes your breath away. It really does.
The elevation or the view?
Both.
Whoa. Let's see. Someone in the questions is nervous about substance abuse on campus. So it's a law-abiding community, St. John's, but students over the age of 21 will drink at campus parties where it's all regulated and everything. And then there's also substance-free housing, where even students over 21, there's no substance alcohol allowed on those dorms. So, one of the things I love about St. John's just in general is it's not this big party school, and you don't have to participate in that if you don't want to be part of the community. The community is about what happens inside the classrooms.
Can I just add to that, Cami? Sure. So I just wanted to say, it's important too that the college is providing education, and so we do have education for all incoming students, and we'll have ongoing education about substances throughout the year and opportunities to engage in that way. I have invited students to join me in sort of an alcohol and other drug task force to talk about our policies on campus and the culture that we build as well. All college campuses are doing similar efforts and are required to as well as part of sort of a federal act. But I think Cammie's right. I think that students are really wanting to care for one another and engage in healthy ways if they choose to engage.
Someone asked a question about writing clubs, and I think creative writing. I saw a question about that. We have this magazine, literary magazine, The Grout. One of my best friends is the editor this year, and so there's a lot of opportunity to workshop every single week. They have a meeting for that where you get to workshop your work if you're interested in creative writing, and then to publish in that way on campus.
Yeah, and there's a student-run newspaper as well called The Moon. We organize, Michael Galber and I have organized in the past some workshops run by Joan Tewksbury, an award-winning screenwriter and director, teaching students how to start a creative writing discipline. I'm a professional writer as well. I've run a publishing company for a decade, so I really love talking with students about pursuing either work full-time as a writer after graduation or working in the publishing field. So yeah, there are a lot of writerly nerds on campus who are happy to give you opportunities to do some creative work and think about what writing looks like for you after school.
Whoop, fun question. As a fluent French speaker, how easily will I be able to keep up my French while at SJC? So in addition to the language classes, which are really focused on translation instead of speaking, where you study French your junior and senior year, there's also a French conversation group. That's one of those kinds of study groups. And so you can definitely be a part of that. That's a weekly thing to keep that up. And then also, in addition to that, you can study abroad. I know some people who have done great French language programs with the Global Pathways funding. Ooh. Anyone who's able to speak to this, is it easy for students to balance their extracurriculars and their classwork? I guess.
It's not easy, but all of us here are going to make sure that you do that. Sometimes students spend their whole day doing work. That's overkill. It doesn't really help you in the end. You have to make room for other aspects of the whole human being, and we're here to help with that. But it's for some students, to be honest, it's not easy, but we're here to help.
Yeah, and a lot of your ability to do extracurricular stuff and curricular stuff at St. John's comes down to organization. And there are plenty of people on campus who can help you with time management, organization, establishing good routines and habits and disciplines, including I would really emphasize the importance of using the gym or going on outdoor trips, just being physically active regularly, such that you can really build a pretty ideal kind of life here and feel like you're participating really fully in the classes, feel like you're writing thoughtful pieces of work, but also feel like you're doing creative stuff outside the class and keeping yourself healthy.
Yeah, and I just want to say it doesn't necessarily have to be fitness related, but something that is taking you kind of out of your head. And often we'll see that with our pottery program that's we have available here, and our wood shop. And then Derek offers a lot of bike mechanic training. You can come back and work on our outdoor program bikes. So just kind of mind shifting, getting out of the head. Sometimes it's a hard sell that you're going to end up really refreshed. But if you can get into that habit right away, and like Michael Gulliver said, we try and really help with that and getting in those good habits right off the bat. And it really does help with balance, and it helps with becoming more organized as well, because sometimes the less structured your day is, the less structured you are. So we really try and encourage that for everyone.
I agree. And I've got a group of student workers. I believe there's 5 of them total. They're all students ranging from freshman all the way up to senior year. And one of the big things that when we first met in August that I made sure that they understood was very important was how important communication was about how they were doing in the classroom. If they were struggling, if they were behind, if they needed more study time, so that we could recreate their schedule to make sure that they stayed on top of the academics, because that is, what you're here for. While we're also here to provide balance with fun, extracurricular things, we want to make sure that you're not drowning as well. So make sure that you grasp onto that Johnny communication that we do here, and just be honest with your supervisors if you have a work study position, and just be honest with yourself, and prioritize.
And that speaks to a question that just popped up about, how hard is it to keep your transcript up, and make sure that even though grades aren't the focus, to make sure you're staying on top of that for post-grad opportunities. And some of the most successful Johnnies I know have said to me before, it's about being able to ask for help and thinking about academic assistance. And then the way that you all especially it's like your doors are always open. If any of us ever need something, to go to and ask for academic help or life help, or go get mental health services, how open those things are, and how much, how many resources are really available. I've seen a few questions about kind of the musical culture on campus. There are opportunities for open mics. So this year, every Thursday after a seminar, there was a jam session in the Cave, which is the student-run coffee shop, which now is just like this wonderful study space that's below the dining hall. So there are people bringing their guitars and their fiddles, and then there's this great Tunes at Noon that happens every Wednesday during lunch, where people, a lot of faculty members and then some students will play some folk music during lunch. There's a lot of opportunities to get out to listen to music and then to perform music in Santa Fe if you're really into that. There's a chamber music ensemble. There's a small chorus, so a lot of opportunities for more formal musical performance, and then just playing with your friends. And then Collegium, I think I mentioned at some point, but that's kind of a musical review that happens once a semester, and that's always fun.
And we also take the students out to the Lindsay downtown Santa Fe. That was something we've done twice this year. We've also taken a group of students out to the Santa Fe Opera. We've brought some live bands on the campus, whether that's swing. We've brought some African drummers and acrobats on the campus last semester as well. So there's lots of opportunities for you to be immersed in the art. You're in Santa Fe, so welcome to it.
Oh man, and that's a great place to end. Just I wish we were all on campus and you could really see that all for yourself, but it is just such an incredibly rich place to be. And so thank you all for being here and for answering questions. And any questions that went unanswered or you want to know more about, feel free to contact your counselors or any one of us. And then I'm going to turn it on to some closing remarks from Mr. Roosevelt, who's just joined us. And this is the official end to the kind of programming of the day. But after this, if you have more questions about student life, you'll go into breakout rooms once we leave this room, where you can ask students more questions that you might have. So without further ado, Mr. Roosevelt.